Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Hong Kong Racing Show. Andrew Brown and Alex Evers with you to get you up to speed with all the latest Hong Kong racing news and, of course, find you a couple of winners at Sha Tin this weekend as well. Our special guest on this week's show is Hong Kong racing handicapper Tim Carroll. Really looking forward to having him on the show a little later. But Alex, we always like to start the show with your highlight from the past week. What have you got for us?
Well, it didn't take long. Brittany Wong got her first winner, 1,000 meters in the Golden 60 handicap, but that's awesome to see, right? Chevelle Valiant gets the win, goes to the front, stays the distance. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, fantastic scenes there. On what was a great night at Sha Tin too. Some history made. Brittany being the first Hong Kong-born female jockey to ride a winner in the city since 2017. So that 10-pound allowance she's got, I think, is going to come in pretty handy over the season, Alex.
Absolutely. So keep an eye on that too, because remember, 10 pounds off is a lot of weight, especially when you're at 135, when you're the high weight, and then you get to take 10 off. Yeah, not a bad deal.
Yeah, so congratulations to Brittany. Another highlight I thought from the week was actually Happy Valley on Wednesday with Casper Founds and Huey Bowman combining for a Happy Valley treble. Sky Song, Noble Pursuit, and Rocket Spade, the three winners. That treble takes Casper to 5 wins for the season, just one adrift of Mark Newnham. Huey now with 8 wins. That's just 3 adrift of Zach Purton. Hear me out, Alex. Last year when Huey got injured towards the end of the year and had to spend a good solid time on the sidelines, I think about 2 months before that, he was breathing down Zach's neck in the jockey standings. Is he a legitimate chance of perhaps beating Zach this year?
I mean, it's looking like he's got a shot to be competitive. I mean, in Hong Kong too, health and suspensions are the two big things, right? If you can stay suspension free, you can stay out of the stewards room, and you can stay off the sidelines.
Yeah.
There's no reason why he couldn't. Right now, they're both riding incredible. It's just going to be dependent upon who gets the mounts. And then when it goes to Happy Valley, you might have the horse that's the best horse who's come up to the race. He's technically the favorite, but then you draw, 12 at 1,200 meters or 1,000 meters, and your race is over at the draw. So that all kind of plays into it too. But it's going to be exciting to follow. And then, everyone was talking about speculating with J-Mac potentially coming over in the future and a J-Mac Purton thing. We almost have that similar thing. 2 Aussies going at it.
Yeah. No, it'd be awesome.
Hey, Newnham is doing insane right now, though. Like, we can't let that go either. I forgot about that. He's leading trainer right now. It's his second season. And for a guy like that to come in, first season's always going to be a little bit slow, but to establish himself so early, owners are going to take notice, and it's just going to lead to better horses in the future. So congratulations to their barn. They're going awesome right now.
Yeah, 100%. He just needed that first year under his belt, become familiar with the environment and all that kind of stuff. And the former assistant to Gay Waterhouse in Australia now ploughing his trade in Hong Kong. And I think he's going to have plenty of successful years to come. And, of course, Huey Bowman, who we were just talking about, a very familiar face to probably a lot of North Americans as well, due to his connection with the very famous Winx back in the day, the mighty mare from Australia. All righty, here's what else is making news in the world of Hong Kong racing. And there was a star-studded field to kick off the trials at Sha Tin earlier in the week. Packing Hermod finishing second ahead of Helios Express in 4th and Galaxy Patch in 5th. Zach Purton was very pleased with Packing Hermod, who is, of course, eligible for this season's 4-year-old series. Over to Japan, and Mugen breezed over the Nakayama service on Thursday ahead of this weekend's Grade 1 Sprinters Stakes. He reportedly travelled very well. He hasn't lost any weight and settled in really nicely to Japan. He's used to travelling Mugen between Kongwei and Sha Tin, which is about a 3 to 4 hour journey. So it's a similar duration to Japan. So he's got plenty of experience travelling. Victor, the winner, also doing really well. He got his breeze in on Wednesday. He's nearly back to the weight that he won the Group 1 Centenary Sprint Cup back in January. Was 1,093 pounds that day, currently 9 pounds lighter at around the 1,084 mark. Here's what his rider, Joe Moreira, had to say about his chances.
I've gone through to his form, and he indicates that he does have a lot of gate speed, which is going to help him quite a lot to place himself into the race here in Japan. I'm extremely happy to have a chance to ride this horse, and hopefully he does perform as well as he did in the past.
So Morera sounding rather bullish there, Alex, and he's riding pretty well at the moment. Do you have a preference between Mugen and Victor the Winner in Japan on Sunday?
I think with the confidence that Joe's had, and from what I've heard from my mates over in Japan, I'm going to go with Victor the Winner. I was on him last time when he ran in the other race in Japan. I can't remember what the name of this race is now. Takamatsuno Kinen? Back in, that was a while ago. We're always looking forward, never looking back. But at any rate, that's my horse, and I think the ground's going to suit him a little bit better this time, being a bit faster, and gets Joe on him. There's a lot to like about that horse going into this race. And the Japanese sprinters, to me, aside from Mad Cool, maybe Oban Buramai, if I said that correctly. It's just fun to say. You can say it with me, Andrew. Oban Buramai?
Yeah, it's all you. It's all you.
Anyway,
Japan.
yeah. I don't necessarily know how great the Japanese sprinters are at this point. There's no Lord Kanaloa out there, so why not take the shots? And that's what I'm going to be rooting for, the Hong Kong horses, my home away from home team.
Yeah, well, I think there's a strong chance of a Hong Kong exacta in the race. Interesting. I think Danny actually wanted JMac for Victor the Winner, but Morera is riding extremely well. Just won the Group 1 Underwood Stakes down in Melbourne aboard Buckaroo. Speaking of Winks, for trainer Chris Waller. And Carice Titten, of course, on Mugen, who actually just picked up a ride in the Caulfield Cup in Melbourne. So congrats to Carice. Also, over the past week, we of course had Golden 60s retirement ceremony, and we did promise that we're going to give away 2 of these incredible limited edition Pride of Hong Kong version plushies. No doubt you've already got 1 or 2 of these, Alex. But
this is the best one. I like this one the best with the red and black.
So thank you to everybody that sent in your favorite Golden 60 memories and sent through questions about Hong Kong racing. A couple of winners flashing up on your screen now. Ronald Tang, who had some nice things to say about Golden 60, and this other beautiful comment from our other winner, Molly Jo Rosen, who said her favorite memory isn't entirely hers, but it's been about you, Alex, and you finding your heart horse, sharing the stories about Golden 60 and all those beautiful photographs you've been taking. So congratulations to Molly. You've won a Golden 60 plush. And Alex, that was a nice comment from Molly. How did you enjoy the ceremony on Saturday night?
It was good. It was really cool to see. He didn't look too keen about getting that blanket put on his back, and he looked like a little bit cooked up because he wanted to run. But awesome for the fans to get to say their farewells to him, and what an incredible horse. He still looked like they could throw him out there and he could go run.
Well, I know our special guest this week is a massive Golden 60 fan as well. Sky Sports racing presenter and Hong Kong handicapping extraordinaire Tim Carroll joins us. Really good to see you, Tim. And as we close the chapter on Golden 60s racing career, how are you going to remember him?
Oh, one of the all-time best from Hong Kong. I don't want to say how old I am, but I've been around a little bit longer than you guys, so I've seen all the greats from Hong Kong, and I'd put him right up there with the likes of Silent Witness and Able Friend as the best I've seen. Arguably, he might even be the best horse we've ever seen from Hong Kong. But what I do love about Hong Kong racing, I know that sometimes these great horses might not travel as much as maybe some of the American and European horses do, but you've got to remember they're geldings in a jurisdiction with phenomenal prize money, but they never dodge over there. They all meet each other. There's no protectionism that we see elsewhere, whether it be, dare I say, even Australia now, Europe and America. Over there, they always go up against each other, and because we've got the 2 wonderful international meetings with Golden 60, well, he took on a lot of the Japanese and the Europeans, and he gave them a hide in nearly each and every time.
Yeah, an absolute superstar. And as we've said on the last 2 episodes of this show, we wish him all the best in retirement. No doubt Alex is going to be in Japan at some point, filming him in the snow.
Oh, I'm going to go see him. I'm going to go see him at some point. There's no doubt about it.
And you probably run into Vincent Ho while you're there. But anyways, one star retires. Certainly new ones begin to emerge. And one such star is Ying rising from the David Hayes barn. You were very high on him, Tim, before he was returning in the Chief Executive Cup a few weeks back. He certainly delivered with a whopping 135 pounds on his back. How did you assess that performance?
Oh, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It's one of the best first-up performances I've seen from a young horse over there. Look, I'm going to go as yeah, I'll go out on a limb. I think this horse is going to be the next superstar of Hong Kong racing. I truly believe that. If you look at that run in the Chief Executives Cup, no horse has ever won that off top weight. Now, he won it carrying 135 pounds. Now, get this. It was on good to yielding ground, and as we know, it's a wonderful track, Sha Tin, but it does get a bit choppy if the rain gets into it. Good to yielding ground, 135 pound. He ran a tick over 108. Now, I heard you boys talking about Victor the Winner a moment ago, and when he won that Group 1 earlier in the year, weight for age over there, they carry 126 pounds. So £9 less on a good track. He's winning a Group 1, running nearly 9 lengths slower. Now, okay, hold the horses for a moment. Races are run differently. But if this fella can come out carrying 135 pound, first up, first ever time on a rain-affected surface, running nearly 9 lengths quicker than the Group 1 winner in a Group 1 race, I think you've got to sort of think, he might be pretty handy. And let's not forget the horse that ran second that day, Beauty Waves, they backed him. He's in terrific form as well. He carried 20 pound less and he couldn't land a glove.
Yeah, that's I mean, you make an incredible case too. So he's obviously an extremely good talent. I think David Hayes said as much after the race. I got to ask you though, there was a horse that returned last weekend, Tim, that's beaten him twice and also won. Where do you put Wunderbar in the mix?
Look, I think he's very exciting as well. I had to put up my 10 horses to follow for Hong Kong at the start of the season, and these were 2 of the 10. The thing with Wunderbar is he's only tasted defeat on one occasion. I kind of, you'll know, Brownie, I put him up on the article as the best bet that day. And yeah, he went off pretty short. He was about, I don't know, I think he was about 10 to 9 overnight, and he did go into the red, but rightfully so. He had only tasted defeat once when he ran second to Mugen, the horse you guys were talking about a moment ago, who I think at the moment's rated about, 111, somewhere around there. And of course, he defeated Ying Rising, who's rated similar now, and he was going off a mark of 80 first up. I mean, that's an absolute steal, to be honest. And I know some people won't back odds on, but he should have been a heck of a lot shorter than what he was. To answer your question, I think he's absolutely brilliant. He did have a setback. He was put away after January. He had a chip removed from his knee. But I've been keeping an eye on his works and his barrier trial, which he looked very good. I thought he was really good on his return, even though he tied a little bit there at the end. But again, he went from the top of the handicap. And you know John Size, he normally leaves a fair bit to work with. But when you've got a horse that's had a setback like that, he would have left himself a hell of a lot to work with. The only thing is, since those two met, and he did actually give Caden Rising, I think he had to concede £7 to him when he beat him as well the second time. But when they met, since then, Caden Rising hasn't taken a step or two forward. He's taken a massive leap forward. He's really come on. Like a lot of these Hong Kong horses, he's quite a heavy set horse. As a rule of thumb, normally they take a little bit of time. Who knows? Wunderbar might be as good. He might even be better. Who knows? But he's going to have to take a really big leap now to catch up with Ying Rising.
Ying Rising looks a star. He looks nice. I was trying to beat him too. I was all over Beauty Waves. I thought the weight was too much, and especially being from the United States, like we don't have anything comparable to that. Like trainers will go shop handicap weights. So if you put high weight on a horse, they'll go, we'll just go run on the East Coast and get it off. So we don't really see that. I thought, weight could stop a freight train, but this train wasn't stopping. This thing, he's a freak. Well, Lucky Swainess better watch out if he does come back and he does return to form, because he's going to be very hard to run down.
Yeah, I think too, if he was going to be vulnerable, I mean, there's no doubt he's headed down the Group 1 route. He'll be at the international meeting, all things being well on the day. But I think when you sort of look at him and what he's done, if he was going to be vulnerable, it was going to be first up having to give away £20 to a horse like Beauty Waves, first time on a wet track. And I know David Hayes quite often has them ready to roll first up, say more so than John Size. But there's no doubt, David's got a fairly ambitious program mapped out for him. He wouldn't have had him anywhere near 100% on the day.
Yeah, gosh, exciting season to come in terms of Ying Rising and, of course, Wunderbar as well. We look forward to following those guys. Tim, when you're talking about these horses, you're often mentioning them getting in at the handicap and their ratings and all of that kind of stuff. For people that are just getting into Hong Kong racing, can you sort of elaborate on that a little bit more for the audience and where they start on the racings and how they progress through the classes?
Yeah, well, look, the majority of racing in Hong Kong, nearly all of it is handicaps until you get to the big group races. And even some of them, they've got what they call local group ones, handicaps as well. I know in America you have handicapping as such, but if you have a look at the differential from the top weight to the bottom weight, in America, normally it's not a lot. There would be the odd exception. Whereas if I look at any race in Hong Kong, sometimes you're talking up to 20 pounds. So when you are having a play in Hong Kong, you've obviously got to have a look at the handicap. It kind of gets back to what we were saying about Ying rising, maybe being a bit vulnerable first up because he was giving away so much weight. But it's one of those sort of things that we could have a 2-hour discussion on, but to sort of try to shorten it right up. If a horse goes over there as a debutant, it's never run anywhere else, it will start off on a mark of 52. And this is a wonderful angle. If you latch onto a horse nice and early that you know has got a bit of ability, well, they're going to obliterate a mark of 152 very quickly. They'll go up through the grades like Ying rising, like Wonderbar, bottom up together, a horse we'll talk about shortly. And it's a great angle to grab. Then when they get to a mark of 60 or above 60, they go into a class 3. A mark of 52, I should point out, puts you in what you call a class 4 race, which is one from the bottom. The bottom's a class 5. When you go up to a class 3, you're starting to take on some pretty handy horses. But if you get a horse that you think is going to, say, even if you don't think it's a Group 1 horse in the making, but you think it's a pattern type horse, it should be able to win a class 3 and then go up from there and so on. So you've got a little bit of an angle to latch on if you can get a young horse nice and early. I managed to do it with Ying rising, but the price is going to be gone now until he starts meeting the big boys, so to speak. But yeah, look, it's an angle you use, and I've always said this, that if you understand handicapping in Hong Kong, I think it's the best handicapping system in the world. Now, I know, relatively speaking, it's a small pool, so I suppose you could argue it makes it a little bit easier for the assessor, but anybody that follows Hong Kong racing for even a short amount of time, when a horse wins, or even if it runs placed, it can get a penalty, i.e. a few extra pounds for being placed. I reckon you could probably guess what the handicap is going to give to the horse 9 in 10 times. You just know it's going to go up £5, £6, £7, etc. So it's a wonderful handicapping system over there. I suppose the downside to it is because the handicapping system is so good, it makes it really competitive racing. It's really tight, and of course that old luck variable, like in all racing, does play a big factor.
Yeah, and that's why we see so many tight races and tight finishes, don't we, too?
Yep.
And it's interesting. You see guys like for people watching the United States, you'll see jockeys and they always ride to the finish line second, third, and fourth. But a guy will have the lead and he's going to win the race, and you'll see him kind of like gear the horse down to win the race and not necessarily go up as high in the handicap. If you can kind of keep your handicap number, you don't want to jump too high too fast, right?
Yeah, exactly right. You see it a bit in Europe as well, but the difference in Hong Kong, because the racing's a bit tighter, they don't quite kind of get the luxury they do here in Hong Kong. And as we know in Hong Kong, I would say probably with Japan, it's the cleanest product in the world, to be straightforward. Yeah. So you often see them ease down when they're 3, 4 in front, not when they're a nose in front, because they don't want to be making any mistakes, because they'll be in a lot of trouble if they do.
It will indeed. So we're going to talk about speed maps in a second when we have a look at race 7. Before we do that, I know that's an important thing to consider when you're handicapping Hong Kong racing. And we've discussed the ratings, Tim, but are there any other, 1 or 2 key points that you would recommend to people that are first getting into Hong Kong racing in terms of from a handicapping perspective? Yeah,
look, the first thing I do anywhere, but especially in Hong Kong, because you do have tight racing, then you've got a racetrack like Happy Valley, which is very tight, but it also goes up and down around tight bends. So you do need a lot of luck. And the first thing I do, as soon as I look at race number 1 on the card, when I sit down and start to do my handicapping, is I try to work out how the race will be run. Because your races over there, especially at Happy Valley, they can be won and lost in the first 50 yards. As you guys would know, in America, speed's king. So you have a look at the speed map now. Unless the horse has got a fair bit on them, if they're going to go like the clappers on the front end, I'm probably going to look for a horse that's going to sit mid-division, maybe even the second half of the field. Conversely, if you look at a race over there and you think they're going to basically walk the dog on the front, well, then you're probably going to start looking at those that sit on the front end. That would be the first thing. Work out how the race is going to be run. Then you've got to start looking at barriers, and the importance of barriers will be dependent on the trip. For instance, always very important at Happy Valley, but a lot of people think the shorter the trip, the more important they are. I can tell you now, they're far more important over 6 furlongs than they are 5 furlongs, because you guys have all been at Happy Valley. You watch them jump out of that 6 furlong chute, they barely go 50 yards and they're turning on one of the widest tracks in the world. If you're drawn out wide, even on a closer, I don't think it's ideal. If you're on the closer, maybe in the middle, you'd prefer to the inside, but if you're on anything that's going to go forward, you want the inside every time. You want that 1, 2, 3 sort of draw every single time. So look at the barriers. What we have in Hong Kong, we have a melting pot of jockeys. It's hugely competitive. So keep an eye on your riders. At the moment, Zach Purton obviously dominates. When Joe Moreira was there, they were the 2 go-to guys. It probably means a few people like the Harry Bentleys, Andrea Atsinis, the Karis Tetons are probably a little bit underrated, but the bottom line is, as we know, the owners over there, they want the best on their horses. So have a look at the jockeys. Another angle, if I may mention this, there's a young lady over there at the moment, Brittany Wong. She's a 10-pound claimer. It's claiming system like you have in America, but the big difference in Hong Kong, and I love latching on to the 10-pound claimers, because what they do is they normally send them to Australia or New Zealand to get a bit of an education. In Brittany's case, she comes over back to Hong Kong, and admittedly, as I say, it's one of the hottest jurisdictions anywhere in the world for a jockey to ride, and it's a tricky one because Sha Tin and Happy Valley are demanding on the riders. But she comes over there claiming 10 pounds, having ridden 50 winners. Yeah. I mean, that's just crazy. And what they tend to do over there with the apprentices, because they want to bring them along, they don't want to sort of throw them into the middle. They tend to send them to Sha Tin and not Happy Valley at first, and then they tend to put them on horses that go forward that are a little bit sort of point and shoot jobs, just to give them a bit of a grounding. So here they are, getting on these horses that, the 3 of us could work out how to ride tactically. They're bringing 50 winners, and they're claiming 10 pounds. It's just such a wonderful angle. And finally, if I could say this, do what works for you. But go and have a look at replays and go and use the website. And people watching the podcast will say, well, of course, you've got to promote the website if you do some work for the Hong Kong Jockey Club. But I've been a punter for a long time now, and I swear to you that if you're talking about race club website from a punter's perspective, the Hong Kong Jockey Club website, there's nothing like it. It is the best in the world. You can look at a horse's weight. You can look at all their work, even if they've just had a trot or a swim, a gallop, all their trials, all the replays, absolutely free. Everything you could imagine. You can even have a look at veterinarian reports. So you can see if a horse has had a bit of a setback. Everything you would need, every single tool is on that website.
Yeah, absolutely incredible resource, hkjc.com, for those of you that haven't found it yet, but you'll find everything you could possibly need, as Tim just mentioned. Well, Tim, let's put a couple of your handicapping tips then into practice, because we're going to have a look at race 7 on the card at Sha Tin this weekend, Friday night North American time, a little different, normally Saturday night, but we're a day earlier this time, and this is the Young Shy Trophy handicap. Bottom up together looks the likely favourite here. Is 1 3 3 as a 3-year-old, likely contender for this season's 4-year-old series. Bound to take plenty of money with Zach Purton aboard. Flies the gate as well. And I guess, Tim, this is a good time to have a look at the speed map, and we'll put it up on screen. You say it's something that you'll look at when you're looking at a race like this. So talk us through the speed map for this one.
Well, it could be a little bit tactical because your 2 pace horses are on the opposite ends of the handicap. You've got Bottom Up Together, who goes from the top of their handicap. Then you've got Super Fortune down the bottom. I think there's 16 pound plus a 2 pound local claim allowance between them. So you're talking a lot. Now, they're actually drawn on the outside in 8 and 9. Over the 6 furlongs at Sha Tin, you start from halfway down the back straight. It's only a small field, though, 9 runners, so I would imagine these 2 are going to go forward and no one will try to take them on. I think they'll allow them to take it up. Now, what's going to be interesting, does Super Fortune try to use his light weight and go from the front and maybe run Bottom Up Together? He's having his first run back this campaign off his feet. Or will Zach try to go across and just dominate from the front? I don't think it really matters what Zach does. We know that Zach will get it right. Whether he leads, whether he sits outside Super Fortune, or whether he wants to camp on his back, keep it in mind. His first start in the race, he's only had 3. He went over 5 furlongs. He sat in mid-division and won that. So he doesn't have to lead anyway. So this is actually a good one for anyone getting into the handicapping system, because it's actually quite straightforward on paper, whereas some of them can get a bit complicated. The 1 and the 9, bottom up together, Super Fortune. They'll be running 1 or 2. Which way? Not exactly sure. But despite the weight differential, I think bottom up together is a good thing here. He's actually my best bet on the card. But as you alluded to a moment ago, Brownie, he's probably not going to be much of the price.
So bottom up together for you in this race. How about you, Alex? You've had a look at this race as well. Are you in agreement with Tim?
That's who I ended up on, but I'm a little interested in this Equatorial just to see what he does first time in Hong Kong. If he can come flying late, if they go a little bit quick, he looks like he's going to drop out the back and probably come with 1 run. So maybe him with an Exacta or Quinella with bottom up together.
Like it.
I was just going to say, Brownie, he's a little bit interesting because he's a debutant in Hong Kong, but he won a couple of times over here. He won 2 from 4 over here. I think he's probably, both his wins were over 7 furlongs here. I think he's probably going to be better when he gets over a little bit further. But you are right. If they go quick enough on the front end, he certainly should be closing out strongly.
Yeah, I'm based on everything, considering everything that you've said, Tim, I'm going to roll the dice with Super Fortune in this race just because of the price differential, I think, and also the weight swing. My only reasoning is that I don't think Zach's going to want to get into a speed duel. Maybe he'll give it up to Super Fortune and Matthew Poon, possibly. And given that 14-pound swing in the weights, he's got a pretty good cruising speed, Super Fortune. He may be able to hold on up straight. But I think it's going to be a fascinating race. I'm really looking forward to it. Just on these races, Alex, we're going to explain as well these trophy series and the benefit of it for the trainers and connections in Hong Kong.
Yeah, so in the United States, we have like the graded stakes system. We have all the different stakes races, and there's overnights, and there's things for state breds, and there's all this. But in Hong Kong, you have the graded stakes, and a lot of owners and not trainers, but owners specifically, won't have a horse that ever reaches a grade 1 race or wins a grade 1 race. And these are opportunities through all the different classes. They have a selected race on the card that is the cup race, and they do a trophy presentation. The owner comes out, the trainer comes out, jockeys do the whole thing. So it's just an opportunity for the owners to celebrate their horses, whether they're a grade 1 winner or class 5, 4, 3, and you can target the different races in the fixtures. So it's just something a little bit different. Some you'll notice if you're watching at home, you might see them do a trophy presentation for a class 4 or class 3, and you go, what's going on? That's what's going on.
There you have it. Thank you very much for that explanation, Alex. All right, best bets. We've already got yours, Tim, so you're going bottom up together. I hate taking on a Tim Carroll best bet, I've got to tell you, because the man has been on fire, is always on fire with his best bets. I think you hit your first 4 or 5 best bets for the season, didn't you, Tim? And you probably...
It was something like that, and I think our 10 to follow, 3 of them won, and the other one ran, out of the first 4 that had run, the other one ran second to one of the ones that had won. And I've just got to point out the bottom up together, who's going around in a handicap, and there's a group horse going around in a handicap, in my opinion. He's another one I put up on that list of the top 10 to follow in Hong Kong. So hopefully we'll keep that record intact.
Yeah, so don't listen to me, listen to Tim. His best bet, bottom up together in race 7. You got a best bet for us, Alex?
I'm looking at race 9, and I like Voyage Samurai a little bit on the front end there. If you can steal it, I'm an exacta player. I like putting 2 together and just trying to. That's like I pick one to win, and I play exactas. That's my Hong Kong style. And I'm looking at him with Fortunate Son. So if they do go a little bit quick, another one coming from the back who ran really well first up, gets Purton on him. If they go fast enough, he should come running. And Douglas's horses are kind of rounding into form. They ran really well on Wednesday night, looking to carry that over into Saturday.
I'm glad you said Fortunate Son, because that's where I'm going in race 9, Alex. So box them up in an exacta and let's try and get the cash. I thought that was a really good run first up behind Sunlit Power at those big odds. Don't think we'll get anything like 33 to 1 on this weekend, but yeah, drawn more favorably this time too after getting caught pretty wide and finishing fast. And of course, Zach Purton going on is a big plus. Well, that pretty much wraps things up. Tim, I want to thank you so much for your time and for coming on. But before we let you go, you've just been on holidays, and we get a lot of envy following you on Twitter. If you're not following Tim on Twitter, make sure you're following him on Twitter. Where have you been? And tell us about, we'll put this photo up this massive seafood platter that you've been devouring. And when are you going to start your seafood and racing tours around the UK?
Yeah, I wish I could get paid to do that. Wouldn't that be good? I'm not sure. I've just been to Menorca and I've just been to Whitstable, so I'm not sure which one you're going to put up because I had seafood at both of them. But yeah, I do. I was saying to you guys off air, actually, if you watch those hot dog eating competitions in America, the little Japanese bloke that comes over and absolutely gives a hiding to all the big American lads. Well, that's me with seafood. I can't do it with any other food, but seafood, I am a bit of a machine.
What did the handicap rate that lobster? That was class 1, that thing.
They do have some good lobster over here. I do like a bit of lobster. The funny thing is, I'm quite happy having some Vegemite on toast too, but I do like my seafood.
And that wraps up this week's edition of the Hong Kong Racing Show. We look forward to joining you next week when we have a look back on Mugen and Victor, the winner in Japan, and all the action from Sha Tin and Happy Valley over the past week. Before we go, though, Tim is a man of many talents, and he's going to play us out to the break with, what are you going to play, Tim? Over to you.
How about a little bit of Nirvana?
Let's do it.
There we go.
That's great. We're going to have to get Tim to Happy Valley Wednesdays in the beer garden, I think.
Oh, bud. Yeah, we'll get you out there. There's some bad cover bands out there. You could definitely get out there. Easy.
Yeah, I don't know about that, guys. I'm a bit of a hack, but it's a little bit of fun. It's a hobby.
Thanks, Tim. We'll see you next week, everyone.